out of all this when it's actually part of the job, part of any sales. If you've ever been in any kind of sales, it's just how it goes. You're not going to sell it every day, but just sticking to it, it'll all pan out.
Thanks.
Yeah, and that kind of, it leads into what we're going to talk about schedule today, and I want to get more detailed with it because every time we've ever had somebody on and every time you're on a training and you hear like a top producer talk about like what changed for them, um, hang on. Apparently this one's hard to find today. Dialteam.fflall.com. They always talk about schedule, right? And it's one of those things that it's the least exciting training topic by far. It's today's not going to be super like, oh my God, that was such good training. But it's also one of those things that as independent contractors that we miss a lot. And when people start getting good at this thing, it's the thing that they change the most and that they realize is like the most important. And to your point, Jason, like when Clint was talking about he just locked in a schedule and he became consistent with it, that didn't mean like, oh my God, now all of a sudden I'm selling like crazy. It just meant that he continued to show up like no matter what. And what I like the no matter what approach and mentality. And by the way, if you hear like airplanes and helicopters and stuff, probably we're okay, but probably I don't know, couple thousand yards back. I live like my house backs up to these hills, and there's all these hills are on fire back here. And then this side of me is like the bay, like I'm in the Bay Area, right? And so the water is over here, and so literally planes and helicopters all day are picking up water and then from the water from the bay and then driving it and dumping it on the fire. So you're probably going to hear helicopters, airplanes, all kinds of stuff. It's just back and forth, back and forth. I have a 2-year-old son that we dropped off, a daycare today. And me and my wife are just like, oh, dude, he would be losing his mind. Like, loves airplanes and helicopters. And literally, it's just like constant, like right over our heads. So if you
Yeah,
hear a bunch of background noise, that's what that is. But they got it contained. So there's I don't need to evacuate. So we're all good.
that's good.
Um, but uh, but yeah, it's the no matter what, right? Like the consistency of like, hey, today I got smoked, but I'm gonna show up tomorrow regardless. Or this morning sucked, but it doesn't mean I'm not gonna dial this afternoon. And it's like it's the monotony and the pushing through the pain. That's the breakthrough point that everybody has. Like Genevieve, Braylee, Kylie, like you've been on the phones and there's probably been times where you're thinking like, dude, I don't know, is somebody ever going to answer again? Or is anybody ever going to buy again? Like it just seems like it's just like, and then you reach this point where it's like, what I learned is if I just continue to do this, it equals this. And then when you realize what that point is, like, oh, it's not that deep. When I just do this, it equals this. When I put in this work, this much time, this many dials, whatever the case is, it leads to this result. Jenny, Braylee, Kylie, you don't know that yet. So you're like, but you're there. You're putting in the work to get to that. Like Jason and Zach found that point where it's like, it's this aha moment you have in this business where you go, oh, if I just do this work, it equals this result. So pushing through to find that is the hardest part about this business. And what I hope for each one of you is you find that, got it. Like, I just need to make this many dials. I just need to work this many days, this many hours to at least get this like minimum desired result. And when you find that, it becomes a lot more fun and exciting because you realize, okay, now what can I do to speed things up, to get more efficient, to make more dials per? If I realize that it takes me $200 to make a sale, now I'm like, how much faster can I make 200 dials? Right? Or it take, if I work this many hours, okay, what are some things that I can do that I can have more talk to more people within that many hours? Do I get a dialer? Do I add in a CRM system to do text? Or do I just like figure out how to close higher AP because I realize that, I'm going to talk to 7 people before one buys. So let me get better at bringing more value. So I get paid more per sale. That creates more profitability. Does that make sense? Like that's what this business is. It's this game of finding what is the outputs I need to put in to receive the desired inputs, or you know what I mean, the results. That's the game of this business. So that's what I'm going to go over a little bit here in terms of like schedule and activity to give you like a baseline or a template so you can build yours based off that. But yeah, Jason, if you have anything else, go ahead.
No, I'll wait. I
No,
got,
go
all
please.
right.
You got it. You got it.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I know we're going to talk about scheduling, but that's good because it does make a huge difference. Now, I'll just give you experience. I used to set my schedule at like 9 to 6, 9 to 7. That's when I'm going to be working. But I feel like when you make a schedule, you need to make more of a detailed schedule, not just I'm working from 9 to 6. When it's 9 o'clock, I start. 6 o'clock, I'm done. 7 o'clock, I'm done. You need to have a detailed schedule, which means I'm going to work from 9 to 11:30, solid. No distractions, no nothing. I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to use my phone. I'm not going to attend to the kids, whatever. It's going to be pure like work. Maybe I'll take a break for 15 minutes, and then back to the same 2, 3 hour shift again. So if you write down, you can say it in your head, but at the same time, if you write it down and stick to it, then it makes a huge difference. Like, I mean, I normally I'd work the 9 to 6, 9 to 7, and I was writing, 25, 30 grand a month. But when I made that change, like last month in May, my written premium was over 60,000. So it's like something changed. And you know what? I didn't really work anymore. I didn't work any more hours. I just detailed my schedule and stuck to it. And it makes a huge difference. And maybe it's not going to be a huge difference for everybody right away, but I saw the difference and I'm like, okay, well, I didn't change anything else. I didn't buy any more leads. I didn't work any more hours. I just detailed my schedule and I stuck to it. I probably worked less, to be honest with you. I probably worked less. I just focused on what my schedule said. Just like when you get a regular job, regular 9 to 5 job, they're going to tell you, hey, here's your break, 2 15-minute breaks. You got a lunch. Like you have to stick to the schedule because that's how the business is ran. If you want to run your business like a, huge business, then that's how you have to do it.
100%. And one thing, like I've heard you say this, Jason, I certainly found it for myself, Zach, like I've heard anybody, it's like, again, you hit this point where it's like, I get it now. Like this is, you find the consistency. One of the biggest things is like actually having this stuff written down. And like you said, more detail in the breakdowns of what you're going to do at what times. And I'll give you an example of this. And this is in the new agent or not. Yeah. It's in the agent handbook. I created like a template of like, hey, this is a top producer schedule, right? Now everybody has their own lives. You got stuff going on. So don't take this as oh, Bryce told me this is when I have to do it. Like this is just an outline or a template. And then what you should do is create your own based off of this, right? And this is page 39 of the handbook. And then I gave you like a page 40 is like okay, now fill in your own, you know what I mean? But use this as like an outline. So I'm going to go through this real quick. So Jason, to your exact point, it's like what we do is dial. If you realize that dialing the phones is your highest payoff activity, it's the thing you should prioritize, right? And do the most of. That's super obvious, but like that's how you got to build your schedule around. But there are the things in our schedule that got to be non-negotiable as well. Like, hey, these are the things that I got to show up to, right? So if you think about like this training, for example, the 2 o'clock training, that's in the schedule, right? And then everything else filled around that is just dialing. So again, this is like in Pacific time, just an outline of what my schedule looks like. Okay, Monday through Saturday. So 7:30 to 8 a.m. every day of every week is like admin time. And again, this is in the schedule because if this isn't in your schedule, you might start doing admin stuff at 1:30. Like the point of this is just keep yourself like in line and focused. dialing, generally speaking, dialing from 8 to 6. You can obviously go later than that, but that's just like, hey, here, if I'm going to build a schedule, let's have a start and stop time. And then, my end of day wrap up, admin stuff. And then, so it's dialing from 8 to 6, but only time I'm stopping is to take scheduled meetings and trainings. Right. So doing admin stuff in the morning is really intentional. Like for me, I'm on the West Coast. So doing stuff before business hours, like I have some time before I get on the phones to like call Americo, like, hey, what's going on with this policy? Right. And again, before I get on the phones, I have it scheduled in. So I don't have to stop at 1:30 and check what's going on with the policy in the middle of the day that interrupts my dial time. I'm doing it in the morning before I start my day. So all my admin stuff, get it knocked out. 8 to 9, boom, hammering out the calls. 9 to 10, there's a training. So I got that scheduled in. Back on the phones, hammering it from 10 to 2. Stop for this training. We have this training right after this. Back on the phones right after that training. Right. So like your life is different. So you have, and this isn't even my schedule. This is just like a template, but like I got kids that I got to drop off in the morning, stuff like that. So figure out, okay, what are the things that I have to do? What are the trainings that I have to be on? Put those in your schedule and essentially fill the rest of the time with just dialing. Does that make sense? And again, if it's in your schedule, it's much more likely that you will not like get confused about what to do, right? If it's 4 o'clock and you're like, oh, what do I like? I don't know. Did I call my leads enough? Like you'll stop thinking so much. It's like, no, I dialed. I just what Clint was talking about. Non-negotiable, show up, do it no matter what. And when you stack stuff up like this, that's when you really start to figure it out. But you just don't want to kind of willy-nilly here and there, sometimes here, like let emotions get in the way of getting on the phones. Like be committed to an actual set specific schedule, follow it. That's how you just give yourself the best possible chance of getting good at this thing. You know what I mean? Scheduling trainings, scheduling when you're gonna buy leads. Like I have, buy leads on Sunday morning. But everything you can that you have, like if you find yourself doing something and it's at a weird time, maybe think about, okay, should I put this in my schedule? Is this the best time to be doing this? Because it's probably something that needs to be done, but it may not be the best time or it may not be the most efficient part of your day. Right. And so I don't know. I mean, it's just massively important. I just always treated this thing when I was brand new, like, and still to this day, really, but like I treated it like the way that I didn't let the freedom of being an independent contractor, the way I didn't abuse that freedom is by treating this like I was an employee, even though I wasn't. So one of my biggest pieces of advice to everybody is, I'm not your boss. Trust me. I'm not trying to say that I am, but I view Dom like I treated it like he was my boss. And if he told me, here's the training schedule, I didn't go, optional. I just went, okay, that's what like. I tricked my mind to saying, if he says we're on the phones at 8, I have to be on the phones at 8. I didn't make things so optional. And sometimes what we do when we get into a business like this is we make everything so optional. You're like, I know Bryce gave me a training schedule, but like, you know what I mean? You're gonna have results. I'm just telling you, when things become non-negotiable, and the trick is like when you go through a week and you're getting smoked, is it again showing up again on Monday. You know what I mean? So showing up to a couple of trainings can be easy. But when you're frustrated, when things maybe aren't going well, showing up again. And then the other side of that is if things are going really well, still showing up, right? Like, dude, I don't need to still show up to these trainings anymore. Like, I'm crushing it. That, I was there too, where I kind of noticed things. Oh, shoot, I need to get back to what I was doing before that got me there. You know what I mean? And again, like you hear Clint, like he just talked about, dude, he's on every training. He's on live Zoom dials all day, and he has a set schedule that he commits to. Like it's really not that deep, but so much of us just don't do that. And we wonder why, why we're not where we want to be. So yeah, take this, fill it out like every day of the week. There's a column for it, and just have your have your schedule laid out, and then, feel free to, like, I put in here that I don't make anybody do this. Like, and nobody on here, I'm like, hey, you have to go on their mega schedule, sign it, and send it to me. But if you want an accountability partner, I would totally do that. If you work with Jason and you're like, look, Jason, I know we had the training, the schedule training today. I decided I want to commit to a set time. I'm going to fill this out. I'm going to send it to you. Jason would be like, all right, cool, let's do it. I appreciate, like, I'm not going to check on you every time, but sometimes it just helps to put something in writing and send it to somebody else and say, here's what I'm going to do. So that's why I put this here. If you want to, an accountability partner, if you will, fill out a schedule, send it to somebody, and have somebody else see it. Because sometimes we need somebody else to kind of help us with our accountability. Um, so that's schedule. Before I move on, I don't know who else on here. Zach, do you have anything that you want to add, or anything you learned about um, being committed to a schedule? And because you
Yeah,
started this part
absolutely
time, right? So your perspective is a little bit even more unique than me and Jason.
correct. And especially going into full time now too. Well, two things. One thing I took from Clint, and I didn't get a chance to like have him like elaborate on it on the meeting on Friday, was how fast he gets to the next call after, somebody doesn't give their social or he doesn't make a sale. To him, it's not even about making a sale or not making a sale. It's just part of the routine of sticking to the schedule and working a allocated amount of hours, regardless of the result. And so that's one of the things the last couple of weeks that I've really been practicing is being like, okay, my schedule today, I have the schedule till 6:30. So, no matter what happens, I'm not going to stop till 6:30. And there's been days where I was 0 for 5, 0 for 6 in presentations. It's 4:30. And I'm like, okay, I got an hour and a half left. And then literally the last two calls of the day, or the last two people that pick up the phone that I present to, they end up purchasing, and it's 6:30, 7 o'clock on the dot. So I think once you really start to create your schedule and you don't worry about the results, regardless of if you try to present to 10 people and it doesn't work, just doing that week on, week in, week out, like the numbers just really just take care of themselves. And that's really like, 9, 10 months in, I'm still figuring out different things that work for me. And I always like to, since I'm pretty new still, obviously give information to everybody else so that you guys could get there faster than I did. I think when you're working part time, it's even um, more of your responsibility to actually have those hours blocked off, and you really got to go time. If you only have 4 hours and you're only going to work 4 hours a day, or if you have a job that you work in the daytime and you're only going to work at nighttime, you got to make sure that you actually really commit to that schedule and that you just really work. Because if you do it a little bit and then you don't do it and you get wishy-washy and you have days where, oh, you're like, I just don't feel like it, I'll do it tomorrow. That's when you start to get chargebacks, or that's when you start to get out of your rhythm, and then that's when that good old self-doubt starts to creep in. And I've seen it with a lot of people. They'll start to obviously, start to doubt themselves because they'll get a chargeback, or they didn't make a sale in 3 or 4 days. You start questioning, can you really do it? But then if you look at your numbers, you made 40, 50 calls, and then you didn't feel good, or you had
Mm.
something to do the next day. So you really didn't allocate the time to actually see if you could really accomplish it. That's all I'll say.
That's huge, dude. That's so huge. And what that goes back to is the no matter what thing. Like the schedule is just to give yourself the best opportunity to fall into that no matter what mindset. Because you already told yourself that you're going to still dial at 4 o'clock, even if you gotten smoked all day today. And then the again, the opposite side of that is one thing that I had to kind of relearn when I switched from in the field sales to telesales is like, if because dude, it's easy to start off really hot in the day and then kind of end it early because you're like, dude, I already made 3 sales before two. Like, I think I'm gonna end my day, which there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if that's your goal, if you're like, look, I actually want to get out in front, have a great day in the early part of the day. So I can maybe get out of here a little bit earlier so I can go do some of my family. Dude, that's awesome. I'm all about that. Trust me. So I'm not saying like you got to be a freaking robot, but you just want to be aware of that and how often you may be doing that. Does that make sense? Because like when I was in the field, if I sold my first two appointments of the day, like 9, 10 a.m., and then I had appointments stacked all the way till 5, 6, what was I gonna do? Not show up to their people's house? Like I already told them I was coming over. Like I literally just followed like an appointment schedule. And so with telesales, if we're like, yeah, we'll have some appointments stacked up sometimes, but a lot of this is just like one call closes. And if you make a couple sales in the morning, like it could be easy to be like, cool, I'm good. I got it. I already did something today. And that's where having a disciplined and committed schedule really falls back. So I know we're hammering it here. You're probably like, got it. Make a schedule, stick to it. Like, sure.
One
But
last thing, Bryce,
yeah.
about what you just said, especially about if you make sales early in the day,
Mhm.
like the insurance guys, they'll mess with you the next day if you stop working. So like if you're making sales, like power through that day because the next day it could be hell. You know what I mean? So when the
Yep.
phones are hot and people are picking up and you're selling, like just run it till you can't run no more because that next day it could change.
No doubt.
I'll tell you that firsthand.
And you know what, Zach, that's exactly what I was about to say is like when you make a sale, yeah, it's great. Like Bryce said, yeah, if you have stuff going on, great. You made your sale, made your two sales. But people have asked me this in the past. They're like, what's the best time to make a sale? Is it the morning, afternoon? No, it's right after you make a sale because after you make a sale, your best feeling ever, it's like, oh man, I'm feeling good. You don't want to just go take off for an hour or two or take off the rest of the day because that motivation, that feeling that you got of just making that sale will create another sale. I promise you. I mean, Bryce, you've seen me post sales before. I get one, I get another, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm not going to stop until
Yeah.
until it just goes. I'll get like 5 or 6 or 7. I don't care. I'll just keep going because I know in the back of my head there's going to be a day. I don't know if it's tomorrow, the next day, but I probably won't make a sale, and that's okay too. I know those days are coming, so why not stack up as much as possible?
That's it, dude. 100%. That's facts.
And you
And
could ride it. You could ride it for the whole week. I mean, if you get a sale and you have a good day, then the next day is a good day. I mean, just keep going and going. The day is going to come where you're not going to make a sale, but just hurry up and get as many as you can. And again, not hurry up, but I did want to bring up one last thing. I don't know if you want to talk about the schedule all day, but I'll be done with this
no, you're
last
fine,
part.
dude.
But if you don't have a schedule and you wake up and you kind of do some stuff, all of a sudden you look at the clock, it's 11, 12, 1, and then you start going to work. When you play catch up, you don't have as good of a day as if you start from the very beginning of the day. Because then you're like, oh, shoot, I got to hurry up and make all these calls. And then you're getting frustrated. People aren't answering. You're trying to push through a sale too fast. They could feel it. Like, that's another thing why a schedule is so good. Because if you wait and all of a sudden it's like, oh, shoot, I got to play catch up, it never works. I've done it before and it just doesn't work.
100%. Yeah. Today we're talking about the work, right? This is the work. Like if you've been on these calls for these last couple of weeks, you probably noticed we kind of progressed through the sales process, right? So what, 2 weeks ago we started off with intro part of the script, and we've moved through this thing, and so I'd be remiss if we just talk about word tracks in sales all day because it's important, but we got to talk about the work sometimes. You know what I mean? And so we're starting with the schedule because that's your outline. That's your like, all right, this is the time that I'm going to commit to this. So now I'm going to go into the exactly what to do. Like again, just getting into the actual work.
Oh, excuse me, Bryce. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No,
I have
good. You got it.
to Zach. I'm going to work on a part-time basis, so I'm just curious as to what his schedule looked like as a part-time producer, if he's willing to share.
That's a great question.
So I guess it's all kind of relative to what time you do work and when you don't work. I was a personal trainer, so most of my time was spent training in the morning time from 5 a.m. to about 11. So then I would come home. As soon as I got home, I'd hop right on my computer till about 1, 2 until the meeting. Then after the meeting, I would hop back on and work until about 6 or 7. It just kind of depended, but usually 6:30 to 7 was the stop time. And then I worked all day on Saturdays. I would start early on Saturdays, 7:30, 8 o'clock till about, not almost all day. I lied until about 1.
Okay.
But the weekends were huge though, especially being part-time. The weekends, if you don't work on the weekends at your other job, insurance is really big because you can make a lot of money on those Saturday, Sundays.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Another big thing is if anybody's part-time on the East Coast, getting West Coast licenses buys yourself time, right? So if you're on the East Coast and you get off work at 5 and you start this at 6, well, shoot, in a bunch of states over here, like it's only 3 o'clock over here.
Yeah.
right? So you bought an extra 6 hours that you can legally call people. So it's one of those things where like the biggest, I've been doing this for almost 5 years now. I've seen tons of people come in like Zach, Jason, and countless others come in and start making 20,000 a month. But I've seen way more people not make it. Obviously, right? That's what you expect. It's sales. What's the difference? One of the biggest things is just time. Like the time that Jason and Zach gave themselves to figure this thing out is what allowed them to be here. The no matter what. And one of the biggest things I see with people that don't make it is just they just don't give themselves enough time. It's either they didn't work long, like work enough days or give themselves enough chances to make it happen, or they're scheduled. They just never actually got a committed schedule in the sense that like they got picking up the kids and groceries and like life get in the way on top of their full-time job. You know what I mean? And that's the cheat code is just what's my schedule and how can I give myself enough time to do this?
And that's the beauty about part-time too, is because Kimberly, if your other job that you have is your main source of income, keep that your main source of income. It's going to allow you to obviously, start off on leads, and it may take you a little longer to get it, but you have that flexibility and you have that time because you are generating income where you're not feeling as though I have to make a sale or force yourself to make a sale. And I think that, as long as you have your other job and it's paying all your bills, that if you do buy some leads and you don't sell anything, it's okay because you're still generating income. You're not going to have that sales breath and be pushy with people, and you have a longer length that you'll be able to give yourself versus some people where they just end up quitting after 1 or 2 months before they could even actually acquire the real skill set that's needed.
Okay. Thank you.
100%. There's no wrong way to go about it. Like I would never recommend somebody quit their job for sure. Trust me. But if you do, you now have a ton of time to get this thing figured out. Like it's only going to take you a couple days if you're working all day to find somebody that's ready for at most a couple days, right? You could totally find somebody first day, of course, but to start finding people that are ready for your help to start creating some income for your business. But you probably got a little bit of I need to make a sale anxiety. If you have a part-time job, there should be zero I need to make a sale anxiety because you were paying your bills before you got here, right? Just keep doing that. Don't view this as like if you need this money now, again, I'm a big fan of back against the wall, trust me, but you might be pushing it a little bit too much. And then you just give yourself some time to figure out this business. Like you give yourself chances to like continue to get smoked and get smoked and get smoked, but it's all good. I don't need this money. I'm learning a new skill, right? And then as you start to really, figure something out, and I'm not trying to say you shouldn't be getting paid fast or figuring it out right away, but when your time is limited because of another job, don't let money be the reason you don't continue to do this business still, because your life should still be fine with the money you're making from your job as it was before when you got here. All right. Any other questions about schedule or anything? I thought maybe was somebody speaking up?
No? I think one good thing is I tried to work on Sunday, last Sunday. I was not doing good with following my schedule. I'm start to figure out and put it in place everything, and I decided to work on Sunday. And for my surprise, the only person was there was Clint and the live sales.
Yep.
And he coached me all day for 4 or 5 hours, and he shared a link where I could see his screen what he was doing all day.
Yep.
And the guy is a machine. And I think work on Sundays is another thing that we'll try to do, especially in this time, trying to build something. Because I also got a lot of people on the phone, never got before. But the chance to work side by side, a guy just gave a training to us, was fantastic.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, It's huge. I mean, again, like teach his own, but almost everybody, when I have an initial call with them that has like a full-time job and ask them, do you work weekends? Everybody goes, no. Okay, cool. So I'm assuming you're looking to work this business weekends. Yes. Yet there's, one other person on Zoom on Sunday and he already makes 500,000 a year. You know what I mean? And so Claudio, good job doing that. You know what I mean? But like if you can't let what other people are doing or not doing affect what you're going to do. Like I think a huge reason why a lot of people don't work on Sundays is because they don't see WhatsApp going off all day. They don't see other people on live Zoom dials, right? And they go, I guess we don't work Sundays. Like, who cares what other people are doing? If this is your day to work, make it your day to work, regardless of what other people are doing. Does that make sense? If you go on live Zoom dials and there's one person there, cool. That, you know what I mean? That's like you take ownership of your business despite what's going on. Like I had somebody ask me the other day, they're in some city and they're like, is there an FFL office in the city? I'm like, nah, I don't think so. Like, I was really hoping to, be able to go into an office. I'm like, I hear you. Trust me. I totally hear you. I thought the same thing when I started. I was like, I would be cool to go into an office and hear other people. Yes, 100% on board with that. There's no mistake in that being around other people in person is ideal. But what are you going to do? You can either move to where there is an office or you can be the one to create the office. Like that's the mentality that you have to have in this business, right? Dom told me that. I was like, is there an office? He's like, no. And I was like, it'd be cool to hear other people. And Dom was like, we can do two things. You can move down towards me or you can go make the office. So I went and made the office. I had the Bay Area office for a while until we went crazy virtual. And I'm like, I don't need this anymore. And now I built one out in my garage. But like, I just like, cool, I'm going to be the one in this area that has the office. You would think in the Bay Area, there'd be an office, but there wasn't. So I went and did it myself. Does that make sense? And so that's just like the mindset that you have. Like, okay, no, other people aren't doing it. Cool. Guess it's going to be me. You guys aren't working on Sundays? Cool. I'll be the one to work Sundays. I'll rip it. Because I said I was going to. Does that make sense? Like that's the mindset. I'm going to touch on activity real quick. After you get your schedule figured out, it's now time to put in the work. Okay. Tracking your activity is massively important for just knowing where you're at. It's a lot easier for Jason, Zach, myself to help you if you've wrapped up a day and you know how many dials you made, how many contacts you made, how many appointments you set, how many presentations you had, and what your sales volume was if you made any sales. Okay. So here's how I track my numbers. You can do whatever you want for this, but the most important thing is coming up with these final numbers of dials, contacts, appointments, presentation, apps, and AP, right? So what I do is I get my paper and like I even already made it so you can print these out and do it for yourself, right? So, but I just get like a sheet of lined paper, draw a line in the middle, dials. So dials is every time you hit the send button, that's a tally. Right. So this is 86. I hit the send button 86 times this day. You know what I mean? So it's not 3 times in a row. It's like if you're dialing somebody 3 times in a row, that's 3 dials. Contacts is just who did they answer? If somebody answers and says hello, that's a contact. Appointments means I couldn't present to them right now, but if I went, all right, Jason, if Jason goes, I'm at work right now, and I go, all right, what's the latest you're back home from work? 6. Okay, cool. I'll give you a call at 6:30. Sounds good. I set an appointment. So that's when an appointment is. Presentation, what I consider presentation is, did I show you numbers? Did I get far enough through the sale that I go, all right, Jason, we're going to look at $10, $15, and $20,000. Which one do you want? So you see on this day, I showed numbers. I got all the way through the presentation to 4 people. One of them bought. So these are my total numbers for the day. Made 86 dials, 13 people answered. I set 2 appointments, presented to 4 people, 1 person bought. Total AP is 2,642 from that sale. So every single day you should know your numbers, right? And this is a snapshot of the work. So just dials alone, this was the work that I did, on this random December 20th of last year. That you gotta know where you're at. It's so much easier for you to coach yourself if you know the work you've been putting in. It eliminates the guesswork of how hard have I been working? If you go through an entire day like this, I'm not going to say that this day was a crazy amount of work spent from the dials standpoint. Does that make sense? Like 86 is very, like if you make anything less than 200 dials, that's kind of like that you should view that as a part-time day. Now, like I'm just saying, like I have interviews stacked all day. I got onboarding calls, all this stuff, but like this is, this was my day. And also as you progress to like newer, brand new leads, your dials will go down as well. But your goals should be 200 dials and 5 presentations. That's kind of like if you have a full day of dialing, hitting the send button 200 times, and then presenting to 5 people, right? Where you're showing numbers to 5 people. If you can just show numbers to 5 people a day and be really bad and close one of them, you'll make a ton of money and be crazy profitable in this business. Like, so those are always my numbers of like 205, 205. So track these. And then have it up here. You'll fill them out in the business tracker, which I'm not going to go through in too much depth today. But the business tracker is how you just kind of keep track of your numbers day after day. You'll keep track of, all of these activity numbers I just went over, plus your lead spend and your deposits, so you can keep track of your profitability as well. But knowing where you're at with your numbers, it's just how you operate this business without a blindfold on. Like nobody, Zach, when you ran your gym, you knew how much you were spending on rent. You knew how much you were making with your clients. If anybody's ever ran a business, you know your numbers. Don't treat this any differently. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make is just like, cool, like for this week, how many dials did you make? I don't know, a lot. What's a lot? Some sales jobs, 50 dials a day is a lot of dials. Here, 50 dials in an hour is what it should be. You know what I mean? 50 dials a day is like you barely worked. Does that make sense? And so like I don't know, like you have to keep track and know where your numbers are at. It's what'll allow you to, first of all, coach yourself. And second of all, allow other people to help get you to where you want to be. So if you have a crazy ton of dials and your contacts are super low, our problem is we're not getting people to answer the phone. Are we calling them 3 times in a row? Or are we calling them multiple times throughout the day? Is there something wrong, like your phone number blocked? Like, you know what I mean? It's how we can like evaluate what's going on if we know your dials to contacts. If you're having a crazy ton of contacts, but not setting appointments or getting into presentations, there's something that we're doing with our script where it's like, look, people are answering, but they're not staying on the phone with you. What are we doing in our script that we're not moving this thing forward? Right. And then if we have 15 presentations a day and we're not closing anything, okay, now it's actually something with our script. Right. And what I've learned and what brought me peace of mind in this business is when I actually started tracking my numbers, all the time where I thought I needed work with my presentation or my script, that actually wasn't it. When I actually looked at the numbers, I'm like, my close ratio is actually pretty good and pretty on par. But my problem was I wasn't presenting to enough people. Does that make sense? And so a lot of times we think, and that's why it's like, I love that we do all this script and sales process training. So if you're on here today and this is your first time on, like typically our trainings are very sales specific. Wouldn't you agree, Zach? Like the most part, we're talking about like script, sales process, objections, blah, blah, blah. And it's great. And it should be super helpful stuff. But to be real, that's not what most new agents' problem is if they're not having the success they want. Typically it's the work, right? And so that's why we got to talk about the work. And if you're keeping track of it and you know where you're at, it'll help you see what part of the work you need the most work on, or like you're really not that bad as you think. You're not as bad as you think you are at, communicating this thing with people over the phone, just not talking to enough of them.
And
That
that's
makes sense.
exactly
And that
what
should
helped
bring you peace
me.
of mind and clarity that this is not that deep. But yeah, go ahead.
Me and Dominique, we sat down and we were looking at my numbers, and in my mind, I was like, "Oh, I just don't have enough leads. I'm not calling enough people. I need to spend more money on leads, and I'll have a higher ROI." And I was spending five, almost $6 grand a month. And he was like, top producers, they're spending exactly what you're spending. I don't think you have a lead problem. I don't know how you're working your leads, how you're dialing your leads, and in your close ratio. So when we really broke it down, I was like, I don't think I'm really working these leads as much as I should. I think I'm too quick to be like, you know what, these leads, they're not picking. Let me just purchase some more. And so I made a conscious effort to really dial 3 times and almost blow people up to the point where, I was hoping they would get on the phone and start yelling at me like, why are you calling me 13 times in a day? And then I realized that in doing that, more people started to pick up the phone. And then that's when I worked on my close as well, about being more intent with my close, restating the why within the close. And then so not only did my contacts go up, my close ratio started to go up, and I'm still spending somewhat around the same amount that I was. So if you start keeping track of your numbers and you go over it with your upline, you'll be able to pinpoint exactly where it is. And without that, I'd probably be spending 10,000 a month on leads and writing 20.
Right. Yeah, dude. It removes the guesswork. Removes the guesswork of this. It's where it's got to be. But good stuff. I appreciate that. Anybody have any questions about that?
I guess I'll make a comment about it. Bryce, you're talking about the work part of it. If you like, in tracking your dials and contacts and all that, if you just are working, even if you're brand new, you're going to run into a sale. Even though you're brand new, like you're going to run into people. If you just make that many calls and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, like you're going to get a lay down. I mean, you're going to get people who are going to just, even if you're new, you're going to be like, wow, how did I get that? I mean, we'll still get them every now and again just because of dialing. You'll find somebody who's like just is ready to go right that second. Not that everybody else isn't. You got to get them to do it, but I'm just saying that's what another benefit of just tracking your numbers and just putting in the work. You're going to make a sale. That's our goal at the end of the day.
That's right.
100%. I mean, I heard Clint talking on a recent podcast about his close ratio is like a little over 30%. You know what I mean? And my numbers, my close ratio is at 38%. That means 38% of the people that I go, here are your 3 options. Which one do you want? Actually pick a plan. So if I wanted to sell more insurance, like I'm on my close ratio is on par with a guy that writes 500,000. The only difference between me and him this year is he just talks to way more people. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not that deep. And so that it removes the emotions. And you've also, I might talk about this in another one, but if your goal is to hit Hall of Fame, we can reverse engineer the numbers. So if you say, hey, this is how much I need to make, the numbers will tell you what you need to do. And we overcorrect for being bad. So if you actually get a little bit good, you'll actually go on. You'll reach that number plus some. Like we can break it all down. It's super simple. But again, if you don't know your numbers or if you don't know what you're shooting for, then again, we're kind of running blind. All right, you guys, good stuff. So we now have, right after this, we got the national team call, or the weekly sales training. So we'll jump off this, hop onto that. So zoom.fflall.com. Again, it's on the training schedule, but I'll put it here in the chat as well. So I'll see you all on there, and then we'll be back on here tomorrow. But great seeing you guys. Let me know if you need anything, and we'll keep it moving. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.